The sun peeked over the small mud brick house where Mama Neka lived, filling the air with the cozy scent of herbs and firewood smoke. In her arms, she cradled a tiny baby girl, fragile and quiet, wrapped in a faded cloth that once belonged to her mother. Amara had just been born a few months earlier, but her life had already been marked by loss. Her mother passed away shortly after childbirth, leaving this little one in the hands of a grandmother who was already carrying the weight of the world. Her father had died years before, leaving Mama Neka as the only protector and caregiver for the child. Though worn down by life, Mama Neka's spirit was unbreakable. Holding Amara close, Mama Neka whispered softly, tears soaking her chest. "My little one, the world may have taken your parents, but I will never let it take you away from life. You are mine now, and I will fight for you with every beat of my heart." The baby cooed softly, her tiny fists curling and uncurling, blissfully unaware of the challenges that lay ahead. All she felt was warmth, safety, and love, the kind that would carry her through a lifetime of hardships. Mama Neka had been a widow for many years, working tirelessly to provide for herself and now for her granddaughter. She sold firewood at the market, fetched water from a distant well, and did odd jobs for neighbors. Every coin she earned went toward food, medicine, and keeping Amara warm through chilly nights. Often, she skipped meals to ensure the baby had enough. "Hunger will not define you," she whispered one night, rocking Amara in her arms. "Poverty will not define you. Strength will. Love will." As days turned into weeks, the bond between Mama Neka and Amara only grew stronger. Amara learned early on that the world could be tough, but real, unselfish love could shield her from the worst of it. Mama Neka would sing old folk songs as she rocked Amara to sleep, her voice trembling yet strong. "Sleep, my child. One day, you will walk far, and nothing will hold you back. One day, the world will see your heart." Even as a tiny infant, Amara seemed to understand. She would snuggle against her grandmother's chest, listening to the steady rhythm of her heartbeat, feeling the love, sacrifice, and courage wrapped around her like a warm blanket. The village around them was harsh. Neighbors whispered about the little girl, claiming she wouldn't amount to much because she had no parents. But Mama Neka refused to let that get to her. "They don't see your worth, but I do. I'll teach you everything I know, and one day, they'll see it too." And so, life began for Amara, a life shadowed by loss but illuminated by her grandmother's unwavering love. From day one, she learned the true meaning of family, sacrifice, and resilience, lessons that would shape every step of her extraordinary journey. The nights were long, and the days were tough, but Mama Neka and Amara had each other. In that small, humble home, surrounded by love and determination, the foundation of Amara's strength was quietly laid. As the days turned into months, Amara blossomed from a fragile infant into a curious, bright-eyed child. Mama Neka, though tired from life's burdens, never wavered in her devotion. Every morning, she'd wake before dawn, whip up a small pot of porridge, and gently rouse Amara. "Rise, my little son," she'd whisper. "The world is waiting for you to shine." Amara would blink sleepily, yawning, but the warmth of her grandmother's embrace made her feel safe. Life was simple yet hard. Mama Neka couldn't afford toys, fancy clothes, or even proper shoes. But she gave Amara something money couldn't buy: love, guidance, and an unwavering belief in her potential. Evenings were their special time. After a long day of fetching water or selling firewood, Mama Neka would sit with Amara by the soft glow of a kerosene lamp. She'd share stories of courage, of women who rose above hardship, of people who never let poverty define them. "Listen well, Amara," Mama Neka said one evening, tucking the child close. "Your parents couldn't be here, but their blood flows in you. You have strength you don't even know about yet, and I'll teach you how to use it." Amara listened with wide eyes. Even as a young child, she began to grasp what her grandmother meant. The world could be cruel, but resilience and love could take her further than fear ever could. School was another challenge. Eager to learn, she often walked barefoot, wore patched clothes, and had no money for books or supplies. Classmates whispered and laughed. "Look at Amara. She always comes in the same dirty dress," one girl sneered. But Mama Neka's voice was always there, steady and encouraging. "Ignore them, my child. You have something they don't: intelligence and heart. Keep studying, and one day, you'll shine brighter than all of them. When teachers called her out for her torn shoes or lack of supplies, Mama Neka attended every meeting, standing up for her granddaughter. She's a bright child, Mama Neka insisted. She comes from hardship, but that doesn't make her any less worthy. Please, let her continue her studies. At home, Amara helped in small ways, fetching water, sweeping the floor, preparing simple meals. She learned early that responsibility wasn't a punishment, but a skill that built strength and character. Every task you do well, Mama Neka said one evening, is a brick in the foundation of your future. One day, you'll look back and see that even the hardest chores made you stronger. Amara worked diligently, her small hands learning skill and care. She absorbed every lesson from her grandmother about perseverance, humility, and empathy. Despite poverty and teasing, Amara's spirit grew. She laughed with her grandmother, ran barefoot in the fields, and dreamed of a brighter future. Life had been tough from the start, but Mama Neka's love and wisdom shielded her from despair. By the time Amara was ready to enter school, she was prepared, not just academically, but emotionally. She learned that even in the smallest home, with the least resources, love could make a child strong, confident, and ready to face the world. And so, under the watchful eyes of her grandmother, Amara's journey toward education and independence quietly began. Amara's first day of primary school was a whirlwind of excitement and nerves. She clutched the worn strap of her little bag, feeling the rough patches digging into her palms. Her dress, stitched together from various fabrics, carried a faint smell of soap and smoke. As she scanned the classroom, her new classmates stood out. Kids in crisp, bright uniforms, shiny shoes, and perfectly combed hair. Then, she heard a boy snicker as she walked in. "Look at her shoes. Are those even shoes?" he whispered loudly, and a group of kids burst into laughter. A girl behind her giggled. "She looks like she came from the market." Amara's cheeks burned, and her stomach twisted in knots. She wanted nothing more than to disappear. But deep down, a voice she recognized as Mama Neka's echoed in her mind, stopping the tears from spilling over. "Never let anyone make you feel small, my child. You're stronger than their words," her grandmother had always said. Finding her seat with her head held high, she tried to focus on the teacher. But the whispers, laughter, and sneers followed her like a shadow. Each day felt like a battle to keep her dignity intact. At home, Mama Neka noticed the shadows under Amara's eyes. She would pull Amara onto her lap, gently brushing the tangled hair from her face. "Did they tease you today?" Mama Neka asked softly. Amara nodded, tears welling up. "Yes, Grandma. They said I'm dirty, poor, and that I'll never be like them." Mama Neka held her tight, rocking her gently. "Let them laugh, my child. Their words are small because their hearts are small. You, however, have something no amount of money can buy: intelligence, kindness, and courage. Focus on these, and one day, they'll look at you and regret every unkind word they said." Despite her grandmother's encouraging words, the days often felt lonely. Recess was tough. Other kids avoided her or shoved her aside. With no toys to share or games to join, she would sit under the mango tree, reading the few pages she had memorized, pretending to be in a world where people were judged by their hearts, not their clothes. Yet, even in the toughest moments, Amara never gave up. She listened intently in class, copied notes from the blackboard, and tackled every assignment with determination. Sometimes, teachers praised her intelligence but frowned at her ragged appearance. Mama Neka became her fierce advocate. At PTA meetings, she stood up for Amara. "Amara may not have the fanciest clothes or shoes, but she's brilliant. Don't let her poverty blind you to her potential." Some days, when Amara came home from school, she'd collapse in tears. The cruelty of her classmates cut deep. But Mama Neka's arms were always there to catch her. "Do you see, my child?" she whispered one evening. "Even in hardship, you're not alone. You have love, guidance, and strength. One day, you'll rise above all this." As the years rolled on, Amara's determination only grew. The teasing never fully stopped, but she found ways to cope. Ignoring the mean remarks, focusing on her studies, and finding comfort in reading and her grandmother's words became her lifelines. She began to notice that some of the kids who mocked her weren't truly happy. Their cruelty came from their own insecurities. This realization gave her a quiet strength. She wouldn't stoop to anger or revenge. Instead, She let her success and dignity speak for themselves. At home, she helped Mama Neka with chores, sweeping, fetching water, and cooking small meals. What once felt like burdens became lessons in discipline and resilience. Amara learned early on that life isn't fair, but effort, courage, and love could make her stronger than her circumstances. By the end of primary school, Amara had become a symbol of quiet perseverance. She was small and often overlooked, but her mind was sharp, her heart was pure, and her spirit was unbreakable. Every tear, every moment of patience, and every challenge laid the groundwork for the strong young woman she was destined to become. Mama Neka often said at night, while tucking her in, "Never forget, Amara, you are made of courage. The world may try to push you down, but you're stronger than it. Hold on, my child. Your time will come." Through loneliness, teasing, and poverty, Amara walked her path with bravery. Primary school had tested her, shaped her, and prepared her for even bigger challenges ahead. Challenges she would face in secondary school and beyond. Secondary school was a whole new world, bigger, louder, and tougher than primary school. For Amara, it was both thrilling and daunting. She now wore slightly better clothes, still patched and modest, but enough to step onto the school grounds without feeling completely out of place. The struggles of poverty didn't just fade away. Some classmates whispered nasty things about her bag, her shoes, and how quiet she was. "She thinks she's clever." One girl snickered during morning assembly. "She'll never be like us." Another chimed in, rolling her eyes. Amara felt the sting of their words deep inside. Anger and sadness swirled within her, but she remembered her grandmother's wisdom. True strength isn't about fighting back, it's about pushing through. Her days were filled with lessons, chores, and studying. She often stayed late after school, borrowing books from the library, practicing math and grammar, and writing essays with whatever paper and pencil she could find. At home, Mama Neka welcomed her with warm meals, a gentle touch on her shoulder, and unwavering support. "Do you see, Amara?" Mama Neka said one evening as they sat by the dim kerosene lamp. "Some people will mock you because they fear the strength you carry. But you, my child, have something even greater: intelligence, kindness, and determination. Let that guide you." Amara nodded, soaking in every word. She often studied late into the night, her eyes straining under the dim light, but she felt a sense of purpose. Despite her challenges, Amara's brilliance began to shine. Teachers noticed her sharp mind and dedication. Sometimes, they praised her in front of the class, which only led to whispers from jealous classmates. "Why does the teacher always praise her?" One girl whispered bitterly. "She doesn't deserve it," another muttered. But Amara brushed them off. She focused on her books, her growth, and the lessons Mama Neka instilled in her: patience, resilience, and humility. Not every day was tough, though. She found joy in small things, studying under the shade of the mango tree, laughing with the few kind friends she had, and walking home hand in hand with Mama Neka, sharing stories about school and life. Still, the cruelty of some classmates left deep scars. They'd hide her books, trip her in the hallways, and make fun of her worn clothes. Some teachers sympathized but felt powerless against the bullying. Each act tested her, but it also strengthened her resolve. "I will not let their hatred define me," Amara whispered to herself one evening while brushing her hair. "I will rise above, for Grandma, and for myself." Mama Neka, sensing the emotional weight her granddaughter carried, often reminded her, "You are more than their words, Amara. One day, people will respect and admire you, not for what you wear, but for who you are." By the time Amara finished secondary school, she had learned lessons no classroom could teach: courage in the face of cruelty, dignity in the face of shame, and resilience in the face of despair. Her intelligence and character shone through, even as poverty tried to dim her light. The day of her graduation arrived. She stood tall, wearing her patched uniform with pride. Mama Neka wrapped her arms around her tightly and whispered, "See, my child, even with nothing, you have achieved something. You are ready for the world now." Tears filled Amara's eyes, a mix of relief, pride, and hope. She had survived loneliness, teasing, and poverty. She had faced life's harsh lessons and emerged stronger. Little did she know, her journey was just beginning. Soon, she would meet Chi-Bike, a man whose kindness and support would change her life forever. After graduation, Amara found herself at a crossroads. She had knowledge, courage, and determination, but no money, no family beyond Mama Neka, and no clear path forward. The world outside school felt vast and intimidating. Mama Neka, ever wise, sat beside her one evening as they prepared a simple dinner. Amara, my child, school is over, but life is just starting. You need to find a way to earn, to help yourself and me. It won't be easy, but I believe in you. Amara nodded, swallowing a lump in her throat. The words were encouraging, but the fear was real. She knew how tough it would be to find work without money, connections, or status. For weeks, she walked the streets, searching for job opportunities, holding her head high despite her worn clothes. Then, one afternoon, she spotted a notice outside a well-known office. Assistants wanted. Apply within. Hardworking, honest, and diligent candidates preferred. Taking a deep breath, she stepped inside. That's when she met Chibike Okafor. He was young, impeccably dressed, and had a presence that commanded attention without being arrogant. His eyes were kind yet sharp, as if he could see right into people's hearts. Amara's nerves almost made her falter. She bowed respectfully and said softly, "Good afternoon, sir. My name is Amara. I came to apply for the position." Chibike smiled gently. "Good afternoon, Amara. Tell me about yourself. What can you do?" Amara hesitated but spoke sincerely. "I'm hardworking, patient, and eager to learn. I completed my secondary education, and I promise to give my best to any task you give me." Chibike nodded approvingly. "I value honesty and dedication. You can start tomorrow. Welcome to the team." Amara's heart raced. It wasn't a big salary, but it was enough to get her started. More than that, it was a chance, a way out of poverty. From day one, she dove in, organizing files, helping with tasks, and soaking in how the office ran. Chibike noticed her hard work, her humility, and the quiet determination shining through her modest appearance. At home, she used her earnings to buy little medicines for Mama Neka, making sure her grandmother stayed healthy. Some days, the money barely stretched for meals, but knowing she was contributing filled her with joy. One afternoon, Chibike caught a glimpse of her expression at work, tired, distracted, and worried. "Amara, is everything all right?" he asked gently. Amara hesitated, then replied softly, "It's my grandmother, sir. She's not feeling well, and I want to help her, but I don't know how." Chibike's expression softened. "Tell me what she needs. I'll see what I can do." Though she felt ashamed for needing help, Amara eventually opened up. She explained her grandmother's fragile health and the small, but essential medications she could barely afford. Chibike listened intently, nodding, a quiet resolve forming in his eyes. "Don't worry, Amara," he said finally. "We'll make sure she gets what she needs. You've worked hard, and you care for your family. That matters." A wave of gratitude washed over Amara, mixed with confusion. She had never met someone so kind, so willing to help without expecting anything in return. She bowed her head slightly, her heart swelling with thankfulness. From that day forward, Chibike became more than just her boss. He was a mentor, a supporter, and, unbeknownst to both of them, someone who would soon play a significant role in her life in ways she could never have imagined. Mama Neka noticed the change too. When Amara returned home that evening, carrying small gifts for her grandmother, Mama Neka hugged her tightly. "Bless this man's heart," she whispered. "God sent him to us." Amara smiled, but deep down, she knew their journey was just beginning. That life would soon ask for more courage, more resilience, and a heart open to love she had never allowed herself to feel before. Mama Neka falls gravely ill. For a few months, Amara did her best to support her grandmother. She bought small medications with her modest salary, cooked simple meals, and made sure Mama Neka got enough rest. But over time, subtle signs began to worry her. Her grandmother grew weaker, her steps slower, and her usual bright eyes dimmed with fatigue. One afternoon, as Amara returned from work, she found Mama Neka lying on the floor of their small living room. Her breathing was shallow, her face pale. Panic seized Amara's heart. "Grandma, wake up. Please, don't leave me." Tears streamed down Amara's face as she shook her grandmother gently. She screamed for help, and neighbors rushed in. Together, they managed to lift Mama Neka onto a mat and hurried to the hospital. The doctor's words crushed Amara. "She's gravely ill. The treatment is complicated and expensive. The total cost is beyond what an average person can pay." Amara's heart sank. She had no savings, no family to turn to. Only Chi-Bike, whom she had started trusting as a mentor and friend. She sat by Mama Neka's bedside, holding her hand, praying silently, as tears streamed down her face. I can't lose her. I can't, she whispered. The next day at work, Chi-Bike noticed a change in Amara. She was quiet, distracted, and pale, her usual cheerful smile nowhere to be found. Concerned, he called her into his office. Amara, something's bothering you. Please, tell me, he urged gently. Amara hesitated, pride and embarrassment battling with desperation. Finally, she spoke, her voice trembling. Sir, my grandmother. She's very sick. The hospital says the treatment is expensive. I don't have enough money. I don't know what to do. Chi-Bike listened intently, his gaze steady and compassionate. He leaned forward and spoke quietly. Amara, I can help. You don't need to worry about the bills. Focus on your grandmother's recovery. I'll take care of it. Shock and disbelief filled Amara's eyes. I don't know how I can ever repay you, she murmured. He shook his head gently. You don't owe me anything. Just take care of your family. That's enough. For the first time in years, Amara felt a deep sense of relief. The weight that had pressed on her shoulders for months, the fear of losing her grandmother, lifted. Mama Neka received the treatment she needed, and her health slowly began to improve. Amara stayed by her side, making sure her grandmother ate well, rested, and took her medications. Yet beneath the gratitude filling her heart, something else quietly grew. Admiration, deep respect, and feelings she could barely understand for Chi-Bike. She noticed the little things he did, the way he checked in on her, the quiet patience he showed, and the genuine care he offered without asking for anything in return. These small gestures touched her heart in profound ways. I've never met anyone like him, Amara thought, gazing at his face in her mind. Why is he so kind? So gentle. Mama Neka noticed her granddaughter's soft gaze whenever Chibik's name came up, and she smiled knowingly. Be grateful, my child, she said. But remember, true gratitude isn't just about saying thank you. It's in your actions, your character, and the life you create. Amara nodded, her mind heavy with thoughts. She really wanted to repay Chi-Bike and show her appreciation in every way possible. But as her feelings for him grew stronger, they became more complicated. Love was something she had never considered before, but now she couldn't ignore the warmth his kindness stirred in her heart. The days at the hospital felt like they dragged on forever. Mama Neka was getting stronger, and Amara's heart, once crushed with worry, started to feel a cautious joy. Yet, the question loomed. How could she ever repay someone who had given so much without asking for anything in return? The answer, she realized, would challenge her courage, her heart, and the very essence of who she was. Gratitude and growing feelings. The hospital bills were taken care of, Mama Neka's health was improving, and Amara's heart, once burdened with worry, now carried a complicated mix of relief, gratitude, and something she could barely name. Every day, she found herself thinking about Chi-Bike, his kindness, his patience, and the gentle way he stepped in without making her feel embarrassed or indebted. She tried to focus on her work, but her mind kept wandering. How can I ever repay him? She wondered, biting her lip. He has given so much, and I have nothing to give in return. That feeling of being in debt grew heavier with each passing day. Amara started dressing a bit nicer, smoothing her hair, making sure she looked presentable when she walked into the office. It wasn't about vanity. It was about respect and a desire to show Chi-Bike that she cared, even in the smallest ways. One afternoon, after helping her grandmother rest and finishing up chores, Amara returned to work and stayed late, organizing files and tidying up the office. Chi-Bike, noticing her dedication, lingered nearby. Amara, you've been working hard. You can head home early today, he said kindly. Her throat tightened. She wanted to say more, to express how grateful she was, to show how deep her feelings ran, but the words just wouldn't come. Instead, she lowered her eyes and whispered, Thank you, sir, for everything. Chibik's gaze softened. You don't have to thank me. Just focus on your grandmother. That's enough. But Amara's mind was spinning. He had saved her grandmother's life, and she felt like she had nothing to give him in return. No money, no gifts, not even a simple gesture that could truly express how grateful she was. In the days that followed, She found herself doing little things, brewing extra coffee for him, organizing his papers, even staying a few minutes later to make sure everything was perfect. Every time he looked at her, she felt a warmth she couldn't quite understand, a pull that made her heart race. Why does he make me feel this way, she thought. I can't stop thinking about him. One evening, while dropping off some documents for him, her hand brushed against his. The contact was brief, but her heart skipped a beat. Chibike looked at her a moment longer than usual, a faint smile tugging at his lips, before returning to his work. Amara's mind raced. She wanted to step closer, to offer herself as a sign of gratitude, but she hesitated. Her upbringing, her respect for him, and the boundaries between employee and employer held her back. I can't. I shouldn't, she whispered to herself, stepping back. But the thought lingered. Night after night, she dreamt of him, imagining ways to show her gratitude, ways that brushed against confessing feelings she had never allowed herself to feel. Mama Neka noticed the change in her granddaughter. Amara, she said gently one evening, your heart is restless. You care for him, don't you? Amara blushed and looked away, embarrassed. I don't know, Grandma. I just want to repay him for saving you. That's all. Mama Neka smiled knowingly. Sometimes, my child, gratitude and love are intertwined. You'll know the difference when the time comes. But never act out of fear or obligation. Let your heart guide you. Days went by. Amara began experimenting subtly, a softer tone, a lingering glance, a careful brush of hair or sleeve, all small gestures of attention and admiration. Yet, every time, Chibike remained professional, kind, but always respectful. One afternoon, she found herself unable to hide her feelings. She lingered near his office, heart pounding, trying to speak, but the words just wouldn't come. Instead, she gestured, stuttered, and looked at him with eyes that begged for understanding. Chibike noticed. He stepped closer, his voice calm and firm. Amara, I cannot. I will not cross that line. I respect you too much. Her cheeks burned with a mix of shame, frustration, and something deeper, longing. She nodded, tears threatening to spill, but she understood his stance. That evening, walking home, she confided in Mama Neka, Grandma, I don't know what to do. I want to repay him, but he won't let me. He says it's wrong. Mama Neka held her close. Patience, my child. True hearts can't be rushed. Respect his boundaries. In time, life will show you what you can give and what he will give in return. And so, Amara's feelings grew quietly, deeply, yet she held back, honoring the man who had saved her grandmother and changed their lives. Gratitude and admiration blossomed into something more, something thrilling yet dangerous, but she learned to carry it silently, waiting for the right moment. Small gestures, big feelings. Weeks flew by after Mama Neka's recovery, and life started to find its groove again. Amara kept up with her office duties, working hard and quietly, but inside, her heart felt a bit restless. She often thought about Chibike, his kindness, his steady support, and how he seemed to get her without even saying a word. One afternoon, while she was sorting through files, Chibike called her into his office. He greeted her with a warm smile. Amara, I've noticed how hard you've been working, especially after everything. You deserve a little treat. Tomorrow, I'd love for you and your grandma to join me. Curiosity and a hint of nervous excitement bubbled up inside her. She nodded, trying not to get her hopes up too high. The next day, Chibike showed up at her house in a shiny car, glimmering in the morning sun. Mama Neka's eyes lit up in surprise and delight. Chibike, what's all this? She asked, clearly astonished. Just a small gesture of appreciation, he said with a smile. You both deserve a day filled with comfort and happiness. Amara's heart raced as he handed her a carefully wrapped box. When she opened it, she found a stunning dress, shoes, and accessories, simple yet elegant, just perfect for her. There was even a little bag of goodies for Mama Neka. For you, Grandma. Amara whispered, tears brimming in her eyes. He's so kind. She quickly changed into the new dress. When she stepped out of her room, Chibike's gaze softened. He looked at her as if he was seeing her for the first time, not the shy girl who had walked into his office months ago, but a young woman glowing with grace and quiet strength. Amara, you look beautiful, he said, his voice almost trembling. Her cheeks flushed, and she lowered her eyes, her heart pounding. The afternoon was filled with laughter, conversation, and those sweet moments of connection. Chibike took them to a cozy cafe, treating them to their favorite meals. He laughed heartily with Mama Neka and listened closely to Amara's thoughts and stories. As the day wound down, Chibike handed Mama Neka a small bouquet and a gift basket packed with essentials. "For everything you've done to raise Amara," he said softly. Mama Neka's eyes shimmered with tears. "You have a good heart, Chibike. God bless you," she whispered. Amara watched silently, her heart swelling with admiration and a warmth she could no longer ignore. She wanted to step closer to Chibike, to show just how grateful she was, but she remembered the boundaries he had set. "He cares, but he won't cross the line. I have to respect that," she thought, even though her heart ached. In the days that followed, those small gestures became part of their routine. Chibike would notice when Amara looked worn out and insist she take breaks. He'd drop them off at home after work, surprise Mama Neka with gifts, and even suggest little improvements for their cozy apartment. Each act, no matter how small, deepened their bond. Amara found herself eagerly looking forward to these moments, feeling emotions she'd never felt before. Gratitude blossomed into something richer: admiration, affection, and a longing that made her heart race. One evening, after helping Mama Neka settle in for the night, Amara sat alone, reflecting. "I want to give him everything: my gratitude, my heart, but he's always so careful. He respects me. I can't cross his boundaries. Yet I can't ignore these feelings." Mama Neka, noticing her granddaughter's thoughtful expression, smiled knowingly. "Amara, love grows quietly when respect and gratitude come together. Let it grow naturally. The right time will come." And so, as the days passed, Amara and Chibik's connection deepened. Through gifts, gestures, and shared moments, they began to understand one another on a deeper level. Yet, a delicate balance remained. Affection and admiration danced dangerously close to love, held back by respect, boundaries, and unspoken emotions. Amara's heart was caught in the middle, grateful for everything, longing for more, yet patient, learning that true feelings couldn't be rushed. The stage was set, their bond was growing, their emotions intertwining, and the story of their love was just beginning to unfold, one thoughtful, meaningful gesture at a time. Jealousy and betrayal in the office. Life in the office had become cozy, almost warm, for Amara. She had settled into her work routine, earning Chibik's quiet admiration and respect. But not everyone shared that view. Among the female staff, whispers began to swirl, fueled by envy. "Why does he always praise her?" one colleague whispered, her voice dripping with disdain. "She's just a maid-turned-assistant. Why does she get so much attention?" Another chimed in, rolling her eyes. These women were like hawks, meticulously watching Amara and Chibik's every interaction. They analyzed every gesture, every smile, and every moment of attention he gave her. While some of the guys noticed how hard she worked and how friendly she was, it was the women's jealousy that bubbled up like poison. "She's too close to him," one of them whispered conspiratorially. "We've got to make sure she doesn't take advantage of his kindness." Their plan was sneaky and cruel. They tried to pin minor mistakes on Amara, falsifying documents and planting evidence of negligence. They thought if they could embarrass her in front of Chibike, it would knock her down a peg, confident that his attention made her vulnerable. But they didn't count on two things: Chibik's trust in Amara and the office CCTV cameras. One afternoon, the conspirators confronted her with their accusations. "Amara, how could you be so careless? Look at these files. This mistake is unforgivable," one of them hissed, waving the fake papers like a trophy. Amara's heart dropped. She hadn't done anything wrong. Confused and scared, she tried to explain. I don't understand. I didn't do this. Please, you have to check the files again." The women laughed, convinced their plan was working. Just then, Chibike walked in, alerted by the commotion. His eyes scanned the scene, then fell on the papers. Calmly, he pointed to the CCTV monitor. "Let's see what really happened," he said. The footage played back, revealing the truth. The women had planted the errors themselves. Chibik's expression hardened. "Amara did nothing wrong. These accusations are false." He turned to the conspirators, his voice sharp. "Your jealousy doesn't get to decide who works here. This behavior is unacceptable. Consider this your final warning." Amara felt a wave of relief wash over her, but shame and heartbreak lingered. She never expected such betrayal. and knowing that colleagues she had been friendly with could wish her harm left her shaken. That evening, unable to face the office, she stayed behind in Chibik's office. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered to herself, "I never thought people could despise me like this. I just wanted to do my best." Chibike noticed her distress and sat beside her, gently taking her hand. "Amara, it's okay to feel hurt. You're human. But remember, your integrity and character are what matter. Don't let their cruelty steal your peace." She sobbed quietly, feeling the weight of the office's betrayal lift a little in his presence. I don't know how to face them again, sir," she admitted. Chibike squeezed her hand reassuringly. "You don't have to face them now. Focus on yourself. Tomorrow, we'll handle everything together." After work, he insisted on driving her home. The quiet journey was comforting. Mama Neka, noticing the tears still glistening in Amara's eyes, wrapped her arms around her tightly. "My child, you are strong. You've overcome hardship before. This is no different," she said softly. That evening, in the comfort of her grandmother's embrace and Chibik's quiet support, Amara began to heal. She realized that while betrayal existed, so did loyalty, love, and protection. Chibik's actions showed her that true kindness and trust were worth waiting for, even when the world felt harsh. In those moments, her admiration and feelings for him deepened. It wasn't just about the gifts or protection. It was about the man who saw her heart, respected her dignity, and stood up for her when others tried to bring her down. The bonds between Amara, Mama Neka, and Chibike grew stronger that night, a silent promise that no envy, cruelty, or hardship could break the trust and care they had built. A few weeks passed since the office incident. Amara had avoided the office for several days, still shaken by her colleagues' jealousy and betrayal. But Chibike wouldn't let her isolate herself completely. He understood her pain and wanted her to feel safe, respected, and appreciated. One morning, he showed up at her door with a warm smile and a small bouquet of flowers. "Amara, I know the last few weeks have been tough, but it's time to come back. You don't have to face them alone. I'll be with you," he said gently. Her eyes filled with tears. The bouquet wasn't just a gift. It was a gesture of care, understanding, and protection. She nodded, and together they headed to the office. In the office, he showed his support in small but meaningful ways, making sure her tasks were assigned fairly, praising her work openly, and standing up for her when others tried to intimidate her. Outside of work, Chibike expressed his thoughtful affection in subtle, sweet ways. Some evenings, he would drive Amara and Mama Neka home, bringing along little gifts like groceries, special treats, and even some decorations for their apartment. One evening, he surprised Amara with a gorgeous dress, stylish shoes, and accessories, elegant yet simple, just right for her natural beauty. He didn't forget Mama Neka either. He brought her a cozy blanket and a basket filled with nutritious goodies. "For your grandmother," Chibike said softly, a warm smile on his face. "She's raised an amazing young woman." Amara's heart swelled at his words. She slipped into the new dress, feeling transformed not just in how she looked, but in her confidence. When she stepped out, Chibik's eyes softened as he took her in. "Amara, you look absolutely breathtaking," he said quietly, almost to himself. Her cheeks flushed, and her pulse quickened. A mix of gratitude, admiration, and something deeper stirred within her, something she hadn't felt before. The evening flowed with quiet conversation, laughter, and shared stories. Chibike listened intently, his gaze often lingering on Amara with warmth and curiosity. He asked about her day, her thoughts, and her dreams. As they walked together after dinner, Amara sensed a change in their interactions. There was a closeness that felt new, small touches, shared glances, and a silent understanding that went beyond words. "He cares for me more than I realized," Amara thought, feeling her heart stir. "And I care for him too." Back at home, Mama Neka smiled knowingly as she watched their interaction. "Amara, my child," she said softly, "love sometimes grows quietly. Be patient and let it bloom naturally." Amara nodded, but her mind was racing. She wanted to show her gratitude, to repay him somehow, but she struggled to find the right way to express it. Chibike, always perceptive, seemed to sense her inner turmoil. He continued with his gentle gestures, small gifts, dropping them off after work, ensuring their comfort, and always respecting boundaries. Each action was a silent affirmation of care, leaving Amara's heart swelling with complex feelings, gratitude, admiration, affection, and a budding love she could barely grasp. That night, as she reflected on the day, Amara realized something important. Her life had changed in ways she never imagined. She had found not only security and support for her grandmother, but also a man whose kindness and integrity inspired her to grow and believe in the goodness of people. And though she couldn't yet name the feelings stirring inside her, she knew one thing for sure. Her heart had begun to open, and Chibike had become its quiet center. Amara slowly settled back into a rhythm at the office. The sting of betrayal from her jealous colleagues still lingered, but Chibik's support made it bearable. His small gestures, the gifts, the rides home, and his calm presence reassured her that she was safe and valued. Yet envy is a persistent shadow. Some female staff couldn't forgive her for the attention Chibike gave her. They whispered behind her back, plotted in hushed tones, and found subtle ways to undermine her confidence. One morning, as Amara walked into the office, she felt the weight of their cold stares. Papers were shuffled, files were deliberately misplaced, and someone even tried to blame her for a clerical error she hadn't made. "Amara, we need to discuss this mistake," one of the jealous colleagues sneered, waving forged documents. Her heart sank, panic rising. But before she could protest, Chibike appeared, calm yet authoritative. "Let's see what happened," he said, motioning toward the CCTV footage. The camera revealed the truth. Amara had done nothing wrong. The colleagues' plan had failed. Chibik's gaze hardened as he addressed them. "I trust Amara. You attempted to undermine her out of jealousy, and this behavior is unacceptable. Consider this your final warning." Amara felt immense relief, yet the encounter left scars. For several days, she couldn't bring herself to enter the office. She stayed quietly in Chibik's personal office, avoiding the staff she had once considered friendly. "I never thought people could harbor so much hatred," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. Chibike noticed her withdrawal and gently sat beside her. "Amara, it's okay to feel hurt. You're human. But never forget, your integrity and character are stronger than envy or malice." Her shoulders shook as she tried to steady herself. I, I just, I don't understand why they would want to hurt me," she admitted. He took her hand softly. "Because they see the qualities in you they wish they had. Strength, honesty, diligence, and kindness. Those make people uncomfortable when they lack them." Amara's tears continued, but this time they were mixed with gratitude. She realized how deeply Chibike cared for her, not just as an employee, but as a person deserving of respect and protection. That evening, Chibike insisted on driving Amara and Mama Neka home. On the way, he bought groceries, medicine, and small gifts for Mama Neka, ensuring that both grandmother and granddaughter felt safe and cherished. Back at their apartment, Amara finally allowed herself to cry openly, the emotional strain of weeks of jealousy, betrayal, and fear finally releasing. Mama Neka wrapped her in a comforting embrace. "My child, you are strong, braver than you realize," Mama Neka whispered. Amara nodded through her tears, her heart full of conflicting emotions, relief, gratitude, and a growing affection for Chibike that she struggled to contain. That night, as she lay in bed, Amara reflected, "He has protected me, loved me with respect, and never taken advantage of my feelings. How can I repay him? How can I show him the depth of my heart without overstepping?" She realized that trust and love, though fragile, had begun to intertwine. Chibike had proven himself reliable, kind, and honorable, and though her feelings had deepened, she knew patience and respect were the only way forward. The incident left a deep mark on Amara. She realized that life is a mix of challenges, envy, and negativity, but it also holds loyalty, bravery, and kindness. In Chibike, she found a true ally, someone who recognized her worth and stood by her, no matter the drama or jealousy swirling around them. Her heart, once guarded, began to open up, ready to explore the possibilities of love and partnership. Chibik's honesty made him someone she could trust and admire, growing affection and quiet longing. After the betrayal at work and Chibik's unwavering support, Amara felt a newfound sense of safety and belonging. Yet, there was an unfamiliar weight in her heart, the growing affection she felt for her boss. Chibik's caring gestures became more noticeable, He kept driving her and Mama Neka home after work, often surprising them with little gifts, a cozy blanket, a thoughtful book, or simple treats that turned their small apartment into a warm home. He paid attention to her well-being in subtle but meaningful ways. He noticed when she looked tired and urged her to take a break. He made sure she had healthy meals when work ran late. He quietly adjusted her workload to keep her from feeling overwhelmed. Amara felt the warmth of his attention, but it also sparked something she couldn't ignore. Her heart raced when he spoke to her, and her thoughts lingered on him long after he left the room. She tried to keep their professional boundaries in mind, but her longing grew stronger every day. One evening, after a long day at work, Chibike showed up with a surprise. "Amara, I thought you might like a little something," he said, handing her a neatly wrapped package. Inside was a stunning dress, perfectly tailored, along with matching shoes and a delicate necklace. There was even a small gift for Mama Neka, a set of cozy pajamas and a basket of her favorite fruits. Amara's heart raced with joy, gratitude, and a growing awareness of just how much she cared for him. "Chibike, this is too much," she whispered, her voice trembling. He smiled softly, his gaze warm. "You deserve it, Amara. Both you and your grandmother. You have worked hard and cared for her. It's only right that you are comfortable and happy." That night, after changing into the new dress, Amara felt transformed. She looked at herself in the mirror and was struck by the elegance and grace she had never allowed herself to embrace before. When she stepped out to show Chibike, he looked at her with a mix of admiration and quiet awe. "Amara, you look incredible," he said, his voice catching slightly. Her cheeks flushed and her pulse quickened. She felt both excitement and fear. Excitement at the warmth in his gaze, and fear at the powerful emotions swelling inside her. The evening passed with quiet conversation and laughter. Chibike spoke about his day, asked about hers, and listened intently to her thoughts. Each word, each glance, deepened the silent connection between them. Amara's mind was a whirlwind. She wanted to reach out and show Chibike just how much he meant to her, but she was scared of crossing the boundaries he had set. "I want to repay him, to give him my heart, but I can't rush it. I need to be patient," she thought. Mama Neka, noticing her granddaughter's quiet happiness, smiled knowingly. "Amara, my dear, love takes its time. Let it grow naturally. Trust your heart, and he'll understand when the moment is right." In the days that followed, small yet meaningful gestures filled their interactions. Chibike kept showing he cared. A cup of coffee waiting for her at her desk, a thoughtful compliment, or a shared laugh. Each little act was like a gentle hug to her heart, leaving Amara feeling emotions she could hardly hold back. Still, she stayed cautious, respecting his boundaries even as her feelings intensified. She found herself dreaming about a future she never thought possible, a life with Chibike by her side, her grandmother safe and happy, and her world filled with love, gratitude, and respect. By the end of this chapter, the bond between Amara and Chibike had deepened in ways that didn't need grand declarations. It was all in the little gestures, shared moments, and the quiet understanding of two hearts figuring out how to navigate the delicate dance of affection and trust. As the days grew warmer, so did the connection between Amara and Chibike. Their exchanges shifted from mere professional pleasantries to something richer, with small, subtle moments carrying the weight of unspoken feelings. Amara couldn't help but watch him as he moved through the office, taking in the curve of his smile, the way his eyes softened when he spoke to her, and the gentle patience he showed everyone, even those who had tried to hurt her. Yet beneath this admiration, a more complicated emotion stirred, a desire to repay him for the life-changing kindness he had shown her and her grandmother. She longed to give herself, fully and devotedly, to express her gratitude and love. One evening, after dropping Mama Neko off at home, Chibike suggested they swing by a cozy cafe. He insisted it was just a casual dinner to celebrate their work progress and check in on Amara. As they walked in, Amara's heart raced. The warm lighting, soft music, and intimate vibe made her cheeks flush. She tried to focus on their conversation, but her eyes kept drifting to his face. She noticed the little things, how he made sure her chair was comfy, poured her water with care, and how his gaze lingered just a heartbeat longer than usual. "He really cares for me, more than I thought," she mused, feeling her heart swell. "I want him to know how I feel without crossing any lines." She tried to express herself subtly. She laughed a little too softly at his jokes, let her hand brush against his while passing a dish, and occasionally held his gaze a moment longer than necessary. Each gesture was charged with a quiet urgency, a desire to show gratitude and affection without saying a word. Chibike noticed all of it. He was as perceptive as ever, catching the glimmer of longing in her eyes, the soft tremor in her voice, and the gentle tension in her posture. His own heart began to respond in ways he hadn't expected. Amara, she's not just grateful, she cares for me, he thought, warmth spreading in his chest. And I feel something more for her too. But Chibike, always respectful, kept his distance, careful not to push or overstep. He continued with small gestures, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face, offering his jacket when the evening air turned chilly, and listening intently to every word she spoke. On her side, Amara wrestled with a growing conflict. She admired him, longed to show her gratitude, yet feared crossing that invisible line. I want to give him more than just my thanks. I want to give him my heart. But I can't, she whispered to herself. He's my boss. He's honorable. I have to respect him. The evening wrapped up with a quiet drive home. Chibike dropped them at the apartment, handing Mama Neka a small gift, a beautifully embroidered shawl. For all the love and care she's given you, he said softly. Amara's chest tightened with a mix of longing and admiration. Her heart was a whirlwind of emotions, caught between desire and respect. That night, as she lay awake, Amara reflected, I love him. I care for him. I admire him. But I must wait. I must be patient. He's given me so much already. He's respected me. I can't rush this. I have to let love grow naturally. In the stillness of her room, a silent promise formed in her heart. One day, when the time was right, she would give him everything, her gratitude, her devotion, and her heart, not out of obligation, but because her love had blossomed true and deep. Little did she know, Chibik's heart was on its own journey, his feelings for her growing each day, reflected in the small acts of care, the quiet glances, and the warmth that lingered whenever they were together. The stage was set. Their hearts were close, separated only by caution, respect, and the slow-burning tension that hinted at something extraordinary in the days ahead. Chapter 14. Blossoming Hearts. The days after that cozy cafe evening marked a new chapter in the delicate dance between Amara and Chibike. The air between them felt charged with subtle tension, their interactions laced with warmth that neither could ignore. Chibike, ever observant, began to show his care more openly. He'd call Amara during the day to check in, send sweet messages of encouragement, and sometimes leave thoughtful gifts on her desk. A book she'd mentioned wanting to read, a box of her favorite chocolates, or a bouquet of fresh flowers. Amara's heart raced every time she received one of those gestures. Her gratitude deepened into something more, an affection she could no longer hide. She found herself blushing when he praised her work, lingering a moment longer when their hands brushed, and stealing glances at him when she thought he wasn't looking. One evening, after a long day at the office, Chibike asked Amara to join him for a short drive. I thought we could take a little break. Just you, me, and some fresh air, he said, smiling warmly. Amara's pulse quickened, her thoughts swirling. She nodded, heart thudding, aware that every moment with him now felt loaded with unspoken emotion. As they drove, Chibike talked about his day, then shifted to ask about her grandmother, her dreams, and her thoughts on life. Amara found herself opening up more than she ever had to anyone else. She laughed at his jokes, shared stories from her childhood, and for a moment, felt completely at ease. Chibik's eyes softened as he listened. Amara, you're remarkable, he said quietly. Your strength, kindness, and intelligence. I admire you more than words can say. Her cheeks flushed. She wanted to tell him how much he meant to her, how deeply grateful she was for everything he had done, but words felt inadequate. Instead, she reached out subtly, brushing her hand against his, a fleeting gesture that spoke volumes. Chibik's gaze met hers, warm and open. Amara, he whispered, voice low, you don't have to say anything. I understand. Her heart soared. That acknowledgement, quiet yet powerful, sent waves of emotion through her. She realized her feelings were no longer hidden. They had blossomed openly, and Chibik's own feelings mirrored them. The next few days were filled with shared moments that really brought them closer. He made sure that she and Mama Neko were comfy in their apartment, bringing little comforts without even being asked. He invited her for walks and casual dinners, creating those perfect chances to chat freely. He listened, laughed, and sometimes just held space for her to be herself. Amara started noticing a new side of herself, confident, hopeful, and totally unafraid to feel. That quiet longing from before had blossomed into a deep, sincere affection. One evening, as they strolled through a peaceful park after dinner, Amara let herself have a little silent confession in her heart. I love him, not just for what he did for us, but for who he is. I can't keep it in anymore. Chibike, catching the soft intensity in her eyes, smiled gently. His own heart was quietly surrendering to her warmth and strength. Amara, he said softly, you're not alone in how you feel. I care for you deeply. Those words hung between them, gentle yet electrifying. Amara felt her heart swell with joy, relief, and a sense of belonging she had never known. Their bond, once built on gratitude and respect, was now evolving into something deeper, love that was mutual, sincere, and patient. As they headed home that night, both felt a quiet thrill. They were no longer just boss and employee, nor was Amara just a grateful girl. They were two hearts discovering each other, beginning to explore a love that had grown slowly, carefully, and beautifully, nourished by trust, kindness, and shared experiences. For the first time, Amara allowed herself to dream of a future with Chibike, one where her grandmother was cared for, her life was secure, and love was freely shared. In that shared vision, both hearts beat with a quiet certainty. They were ready for the next chapter of their lives together. The bond between Amara and Chibike had deepened into something undeniable. Each day, the little gestures of care, shared laughter, and quiet understanding strengthened the love that had been growing patiently. Yet, both knew that taking the next step would require courage and clarity. One evening, Chibike showed up at their apartment with a small but elegant box in his hand. He called Amara to join him in the living room, where soft lighting and gentle music created a warm, intimate vibe. Amara, he began, his voice calm yet charged with emotion. These past months have been a journey. I've watched you grow, overcome hardships, and care for your grandmother with unwavering love. And through it all, I've come to realize something important. Amara's heart raced. She felt the weight of the moment, the promise hanging in the air. I love you, Amara. More than I thought possible. I want us to share a life together, not just for the comforts of today, but for the future we can build together. Will you marry me? Tears welled in Amara's eyes. The weight of gratitude, love, and hope surged through her. Yes, yes, Chibike. I will, she whispered, her voice trembling with joy. He smiled, slipping the ring onto her finger, a symbol of commitment, respect, and enduring love. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of preparation, joy, and gratitude. Chibike made sure both Amara and Mama Neko were comfortable in their new apartment, now fully furnished and warm with life. He even opened a boutique for Amara, giving her the chance to hire staff, manage her own business, and keep learning. You've always been brilliant, Amara, he said gently. Now, you can shape your own path, pursue your education, and grow in every way you deserve. Amara, moved beyond words, watched as her grandmother's eyes sparkled with pride and happiness. Mama Neka, who had sacrificed so much to raise her, now saw her granddaughter stepping confidently into a life filled with love, security, and opportunity. In her boutique, Amara flourished. She hired staff who respected her, managed the business diligently, and found joy in creating something of her own. Chibike continued to support her, asking for her advice on matters of the boutique, discussing ideas, and celebrating her achievements. Even though she wasn't in the office anymore, her influence and guidance were still respected and valued. The day of the wedding arrived. Friends, family, and community members gathered, marveling at the young woman who had once struggled to have enough for school, now radiant and celebrated as she prepared to marry one of the wealthiest and most respected men in the city. Some old classmates who had once mocked her showed up, humbled and seeking forgiveness. Amara, ever gracious, welcomed them warmly, offering them work in her boutique, showing that her heart had grown as much as her fortunes. The ceremony was beautiful, filled with laughter, tears, and heartfelt prayers. Mama Neka beamed with pride, her eyes glistening as she watched her granddaughter walk down the aisle with Chi-Bike. "My child," Mama Neka whispered, "you have earned this happiness. Never forget the journey that brought you here." Amara smiled through her tears, squeezing her grandmother's hand. "I won't, Grandma. I will honor everything you've done for me." After the wedding, Amara returned to school, pursuing her degree while continuing to run her boutique successfully. Her husband, Chi-Bike, always included her in decisions and encouraged her growth. She excelled in her studies, eventually graduating as the best student in her class, giving a heartfelt speech acknowledging Chi-Bike, Mama Neka, and all those who had supported her. Her words resonated deeply. "I stand here today because of love, guidance, and unwavering support. To my grandmother, Mama Neka, who shaped me with patience and care, to Chi-Bike, who believed in me when I had nothing, and to all who stood by me, thank you." With her graduation, thriving boutique, and loving marriage, Amara's life reflected the full circle of her journey, from hardship and struggle to love, success, and happiness. Together, Amara and Chi-Bike, with Mama Neka by their side, embraced a life full of joy, respect, and fulfillment. Their love, carefully nurtured and patiently grown, blossomed into a partnership that could weather any storm, shining as a beautiful example of devotion, kindness, and triumph over life's challenges. Chapter 16: Dreams Fulfilled and a Joyous Future. The months after their wedding were packed with excitement, growth, and achievements. Amara juggled her business and studies with incredible dedication, fueled by the love and support from Chi-Bike and Mama Neka. Each day brought fresh lessons and challenges, reminding her that her hard work was really paying off. Her boutique thrived. Employees looked up to her as a fair and kind boss, and her influence in the business world started to grow. She often turned to Chi-Bike for advice on big decisions, and his respect for her ideas only boosted her confidence. Together, they crafted a partnership that was a beautiful blend of love, trust, and shared ambition. The highlight came on her graduation day. Amara walked across the stage with her heart bursting with pride, gratitude, and hope. When her name echoed as the top graduating student, the applause was deafening. She held her head high, knowing every hardship and struggle had led her to this incredible moment. Standing at the podium to deliver her valedictory speech, Amara spoke from the heart. "Today, I'm not just celebrating an academic achievement. I'm celebrating a journey filled with love, guidance, and unwavering support. To my grandmother, Mama Neka, who raised me with patience, taught me resilience, and showed me the true power of love, thank you. To my husband, Chi-Bike, who saw my worth when I had nothing, who protected and encouraged me, and whose belief in me never wavered. Your love has been my anchor. And to everyone who believed in me, stood by me, and inspired me, you are all part of this success." This day proves the power of perseverance, kindness, and faith in the people who love us. Tears sparkled in her eyes as she stepped down from the stage, where Chi-Bike and Mama Neka waited. He wrapped her in a tight embrace, whispering words of pride and love. Mama Neka, overflowing with joy, could hardly contain her happiness. "My child, you've made all your struggles worthwhile. Look at you now, strong, accomplished, and radiant," Mama Neka said, pulling her into a warm hug. Amara smiled, tears streaming down her cheeks as she glanced at Chi-Bike. His warm gaze reflected pride, admiration, and deep love. Together, they stepped forward, ready to embrace the life they had built, a life of shared dreams, mutual respect, and unwavering devotion. In the months and years that followed, Amara continued to grow her boutique, hiring staff who admired her leadership. She chased further education and professional growth, always backed by Chi-Bike's encouragement. Chi-Bike's business flourished too, and he consistently sought Amara's advice, valuing her insights even though she wasn't formally in the office anymore. Mama Neka enjoyed her golden years, comforted by the knowledge that her granddaughter was secure, happy, and loved. Together, Amara and Chi-Bike became a shining example of partnership, personal and professional, love and respect woven together. Their home buzzed with laughter, warmth, and joy, the kind that comes from overcoming adversity and nurturing love patiently and sincerely. As Amara reflected on her journey, from the struggles of her childhood, the loss of her parents, the hardships of school, to the unwavering support and love from Chi-Bike and her grandmother. She realized every challenge had been a stepping stone to the extraordinary life she now lived. I have everything I could have dreamed of, she thought, smiling at Chi-Bike, who held her hand gently. Love, success, family, and a future we will build together. And with that, Amara, Chi-Bike, and Mama Neka embraced a life filled with fulfillment, joy, and unwavering love. Their story transformed from hardship into one of triumph, devotion, and happiness, a life lived fully, generously, and beautifully ever after.